birds kept flying in the windows. So they put those slats in the windows to keep birds from flying in.
And pooping in.
So they could still walk in because they could hop up on the windowsill and just kind of walk in, but they couldn't fly. So you wouldn't have birds flying all around in the interior.
It makes you mad.
Yeah. Okay, do you have any questions?
No.
This mission is in pretty good shape because at the end of the Mexican era, first we had the Indian era, then we had the Spanish era, which lasted 54 years. Then we had the Mexican era, which lasted about 23 years. And then we had the American era. That's who controlled this land in order. All right, now, at the end, who's got hiccups?
Over here.
Hold your breath.
Hold your breath. Or
Actually,
somebody's,
upside down.
or
That's the
somebody's
best way.
scaring. At the end of the Mexican era, this mission was sold at public auction by Governor Pio Pico, who was the last Mexican governor. He sold it to his brother-in-law, Don Juan Forrester, and the Forrester family lived here for 20 years. This was their house. This was their house. And when they lived here, this open courtyard, they used to have bullfights, they used to have dances and stuff. So this was an entertainment patio, sort of.
Who's your bullfight?
Huh?
A bullfight?
A bullfight, yeah.
Oh.
Kind of like no, not today. Kind of like they had rodeos, bullfights, and parties there. Okay? So these buildings were pretty well maintained because somebody was living in them. Okay? Now, other missions were abandoned or sold to people who didn't live in them. And so they began to fall apart. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. We have a picture on the wall of a very famous guy. Anybody recognize this guy?
Oh!
Who?
George Washington.
Abraham. All right. Abraham.
Well, that's Abraham
played an
Lincoln.
important role in the missions in California. Because this one had been sold to private family. They had some land grant hearings in Washington during Lincoln's tenure. And you had to prove you actually legally owned something. And it was determined that the Forrester family who bought this place had bought it illegally. So they didn't own it. So Abraham Lincoln gave the deed to the property back to the Catholic Church 3 weeks before he was assassinated. You know what that means? Before he was killed, before he died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Assassinated means that you were killed for basically no entire reason.
Only because somebody dislikes you.
Yeah.
John too long.
Got like a haircut.
We're gonna go this way. Follow me. Follow guys. We're not supposed to talk in there, although if we're the only people in there, sometimes I can get away with it, but that's rare that we're the only ones there. This is the Sarah Chapel. You've heard Brendan tell you it's the oldest continuously used church in California where Father Sarah celebrated Mass. That means he performed weddings and baptisms and confirmations in this building, okay? This is supposed to be a statue of Father Sarah. Don't take his picture. It's not Father Sarah. Somebody decided that they would make him look like a real handsome dude. Don't you think? He's a kind of handsome guy. But that's not what Father Sarah looked like. This is what Father Sarah actually looked like. And he wasn't nearly that tall either. He was shorter than me. Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so anyway, but oftentimes you'll see pictures in books of the Father Sarah statue, but that's not really it, all right? Now, look at the artwork around the doorway, on the ceilings when we go into the Sarah Chapel is beautiful artwork. All of that is Native American designs. We put there so that recognize it, feel more comfortable in the church. The church has one glaring fault. See the gold altar down at the end? It doesn't belong here. That was only put here in the 1920s by Franciscan priests. And they all take a vow of poverty. They're not allowed to have gold altars and jewels and riches. It's against their religion to do that. So, we had a priest here in 1920s who heard that this beautiful altar was in storage in Los Angeles, and he said, we're doing some fix-up, some cleanup. Can I have it? Remember this, you can ask, they can only say yes or no, right? If you ask. In this case, they said yes. Nobody else has asked for it, you can have it. So they shipped that gold altar, which is actually carved wood with gold leaf on top, down here in 396 separate pieces with no instructions of how to put it together. Did you ever put a jigsaw puzzle together?
Yeah.
Imagine a three-dimensional jigsaw puzzle.
Oh.
And that's what they put together. All right, now when we get into the church, you will see that the ceiling at that end is much taller than the rest of the ceiling. And the reason is,
quiet.
the reason is the altar. They got about 2/3 of it constructed, and then they looked at the pile of pieces still laying on the floor, and they went, uh-oh, I don't think it's gonna fit. So they took the ceiling off the far end of the chapel. They built the walls up with more adobe and put the original ceiling back on it. And then they had room to complete their construction. All right. Now, can you see my light way down there?
Whoa.
This piece is a companion piece to the altar. And that companion piece is called the lectern. It's also carved wood with gold leaf on top. Do you know what gold leaf is?
No.
It's real thin sheets of gold.
Wow.
Imagine rolling out sugar cookies for like Christmas. You roll them out, you roll them out. Only in this case with the gold, they kept rolling it and getting it thinner and thinner and thinner till it's almost tissue paper thin.
Like aluminum foil then.
Yeah, like even thinner somewhat than that. And then they put glue on the wood, the carved wood, and stuck the real thin sheets of gold on it. So gold leaf is not paint. It's real gold. It's glued on, but it's real thin gold.
I'm not that.
Yeah. Okay, so notice that there is a figure at the top that has a red flag or red banner.
Yeah.
That's the patron saint of this mission. His name is St. John of Capistrano. All of the missions in California were named after Franciscan saints. Some were men, some were women, some were French, some were Italian, and some were Spanish. This guy's Italian. And if you say St. John of Capistrano in Spanish, it's San Juan Capistrano. So that's how we got our name. Okay. Do you know how to tell whether a mission's named after a man or a woman?
No.
Real easy way. You don't have to memorize a thing. I love this because I hate memorizing. Don't memorize anything. You need to know two things. Does the name of the mission start with San, S-A-N? If it does, that's a guy. If the name of the mission starts with Santa, that's a girl. Simple as that. Like Santa Barbara, Santa Ynez, those are girls. Girl saints. Okay? Do you have any questions?
No. Why does it say September 25th?
That's when he was named a saint. Okay? That's not when he died. Oh, by the way, since this is called, since this is called the Sarah Chapel, many people think that Father Sarah's buried here. He's not. I'll tell you right up front. Do you know where he is buried? He's buried up in Carmel at San Carlos, which is, if you count the order in which the missions were built, it's mission number 2. San Diego was first, San Carlos was second. Why is he buried there? Very simple. That's where he was when he dropped dead. Okay. You were always, not just him, anyone who was unfortunate enough to get sick or injured and die was always buried in the nearest consecrated cemetery. So if you'd been visiting, I don't care where you were from, if you got sick or died, you would have been buried in our cemetery. Okay? That's just the custom. Yes?
Is there actually a cemetery here?
There is an old cemetery that's no longer in use, and you're going to see it. And we have a new cemetery. Always makes me grin. The new cemetery associated with this mission is only 100